Today, we are speaking with Robin Treasure. Robin is a sales professional, author, speaker, and sales coach. She is passionate about sharing her heart-centered approach to sales, which has enabled her to grow her sales territory in dietary supplements from 220,000 per year to 2.8 million per year in revenue, all while being regarded as a strategic partner by her clients. Her experience is in the dietary supplement industry. Her approach can absolutely be implemented in any industry, leading her to write her book called Heart Powered Sales: Grow Your Sales Exponentially with Emotional Intelligence and Intuition. Robin is also a sales coach who offers one-on-one trainings and group coaching. I'm really excited to learn more. Robin, thank you for joining us on Fresh Blood. Please, could you tell us a bit more about your story and getting to where you are today?
Yes, thank you. And it's really great to be here with you. Yes, a little bit about me and my background, and I guess I'll start with the present and then work backwards. So, as you mentioned, I am a sales coach. I work primarily with women. I have a real passion for connecting with people, for the art of communication, what it means to really communicate with someone, to really listen to what they need and what they're trying to say. I have a real passion for serving people. And that is absolutely what you're doing when you're in sales. And if you're doing it well, you're serving.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't have known that years and years ago. I would have told you that sales would be the last profession that I would get
Why?
into.
Why? I'm curious.
Yes. So there still is a bit of that stigma sometimes of to be good in sales, you have to be pushy,
Mm,
or sales is sleazy, or that there's an ulterior motive. And really, when it's done the right way, that couldn't be further from the truth.
mhm.
And yet, because there is that bit of stigma, and because there is a lot on the line when you first approach a customer, that means that there's a greater challenge. There's more on the line. And I love that challenge of shining through with your heart and your integrity and making it clear that you're not attached to the outcome and that you're
Mm.
there to serve the customer. But yeah, like I said, years ago, that would have been the last thing that I would have understood.
I'm curious, what was the first thing that you wanted to do years ago?
Yeah, so years ago, my first passion was foreign languages.
Oh,
Yes,
interesting.
yeah. So
Fascinating. How many languages do you speak?
I speak, aside from English, I speak two others. So conversational Spanish
Mhm.
and then fluent Italian.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. So,
And
uh-huh.
did you do something with that?
Yeah. So actually, that was so my first career was in Italian translation.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's
Mhm.
super interesting. What did you do with that? Like, where were you living? No,
Mhm.
no, you would be, where were you living here?
So I studied Italian as an undergraduate in college in Boston.
Mhm.
And then fell so in love with the language that I said I want to go on and make a career of this. I want to be a translator. So I got a master's degree in Italian translation in Boston, and then I moved to Rome. I moved to Rome and I had a little bit of savings to my name. I moved over there with no job. I knew one friend of a friend,
Wow.
and I didn't know how long I would stay there. I ended up staying for 4 years.
I love this.
Yeah, and
And
it
wait,
was.
so and would you got a job and just settled in Rome and started
Mhm.
building a life? Yes.
I did, yeah, but I was freelancing as a
Mhm.
translator, mainly in the
Okay.
film industry and then also wine.
Okay.
So it was just a constant fluid free situation where I was just getting translation jobs here and there, and I made enough money where I could make a living and have fun and go on weekend trips, and
How fun. It
yeah, it was
sounds
amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
Mhm.
What was your big takeaway from that time? What did you learn from that experience?
Absolutely, my biggest takeaway was take risks, go live your dreams, follow
Yeah.
your heart. If you have a passion and you know that you can dedicate your heart to that and really give it your all, it it doesn't matter if you don't have a perfectly logical game plan or if it doesn't make perfect sense. And some well-meaning people may try to talk you out of doing something like
Mhm.
moving overseas, right?
Yes, yes.
Without a job.
Did your parents have something to say about that?
My parents have always supportive, and they chose a very different lifestyle for
Mhm.
themselves. They live on a mountaintop in New Mexico, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, and that's where I was born and raised. But they always just shook their heads and said, "Well, Robin Ann, we're proud of you. And if you want to go do it, go do it."
That's great. That's
Yeah,
great. And so
yeah.
where'd you go from there? When you left Rome, why
Mhm.
and where'd you go?
Yeah, after it had been nearly 4 years in Rome and just an amazing experience, and that was in my mid 20s into getting into my late 20s, I suddenly had this feeling of, I think I've lived out my experience here.
Mhm.
I think I want to return to the States. I want to start building more of a future.
Mhm.
And so once again, I followed my heart.
Mhm.
I didn't want to go back to New Mexico. I didn't want to go back to Boston. And I just felt drawn to the San Francisco Bay Area, probably also because it is an international city. And I
Yeah.
figured I possibly use my Italian here. And so I moved here. I knew I had a few loved ones who lived here. And so I moved here to the Bay Area again with no job, but at least now I was in my own country,
Yes.
and, and I had a few loved ones, like I said, who lived here. And I, lo and behold, was so fortunate to find a very rare job working for the Italian Cultural Institute, which is the cultural arm of the Italian
Wonderful.
consulate.
That's perfect.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Is amazing. There is a handful of jobs of that type of job in the United States that's actually through the Italian government. So I was
Love
very
that.
fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
And so who says that you can't go and make a career out of something that you love, like the Italian language? And
Exactly.
I couldn't have predicted that I could have done as well as I did. And when I did get that job at the Italian Cultural Institute, it ended up being a wonderful career for 9 years.
Mhm.
There, I was with the Institute and had extremely rewarding experiences working as a I was translating, I was working as an interpreter. So translation is
Mhm.
written and then interpreting is oral, right?
Mhm.
So when visiting filmmakers, Italian filmmakers would come from Italy to the Bay Area to present their films at film festivals,
Mhm.
I was their interpreter,
Got it.
standing by their side,
Mhm.
translating for them in front of the audience and helping the filmmaker to understand the audience's questions, and then translating or interpreting the answers, the filmmaker's answers, so that the audience could understand. So
That
it's a
sounds
blast.
yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like so much fun and so interesting. Is it as good as it sounds?
It really is. Honestly, it was the highlight. And that's not what I was doing every single day, but a few times a year, that's what I was doing. And that
Yeah.
was really the highlight of the year. It was thrilling and so much fun.
That's great.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
and that's wonderful that you built this career, like you said, on something that so many people would
Mhm.
probably give you some questions about and tell
Yeah.
you, would you have a backup and
Mhm.
you
Yes,
know, all of
yes,
those things.
yes.
So, and you've also gone through a lot of change, moving to
Mhm.
Rome and having to build this life there, and then moving to San Francisco, another new place, and building a life there. Is there, that's not always easy. Is there anything that you would share that helped you successfully build your life in these places that might help other people, because there are a lot of people in flux right now in change.
Absolutely. The number one tool and resource that each of us has is our intuition.
Mm,
And I'm a huge believer
yeah.
in following your intuition. And we all have this gift, this tool, this skill. But the question is just, have you been trained to use it and to
Yes,
tap into it? Most of us have not,
exactly.
but it's something that we can really access. And by training, I really put that in quotation marks because it's really about each of us feeling into what
Mhm.
we know to be true. So, certainly in times of flux, like now, we might be tempted to use our heads. And that's
Mhm.
important. We do need
Yeah.
we do need our to use our head and to leverage our logic and our strategic thinking. But not at the expense of what our intuition informs us as well.
Mhm.
So when making a big leap, whether it's moving overseas or making a career change, my biggest piece of advice is to tap into your
Mhm.
intuition.
I like this a lot. Now, what you said is very true. A lot of us have not been trained to do that. It's ignored. It's almost
Mhm.
like people learn to ignore it. I know that was something that I did.
Mhm.
And is there anything that you've done to help you get in touch with your intuition?
Yes. So I feel, and I do write about this in my book that we can get into a bit later, but I really feel that in order to access your intuition, it's about connecting to your heart.
Mhm.
Because by connecting to your heart, it helps you to strip away a lot of the self-doubting thoughts that we can fall prey to.
Mhm.
And it helps you to get to this quiet place of truth
Mhm.
where you can receive guidance,
Mhm.
because your intuition, I've heard it said, and I can't remember right now who said it, but intuition is not thinking, it's receiving.
Oh, I like that.
Mhm. So it's really about getting quiet, and it's less about doing and more about not doing in the
Mhm.
moment.
Okay. I
It's
love
about getting quiet. It really almost visually in your mind drop down from your head and into your heart.
Mhm.
And that's where you'll receive that. It should come as a relief that you
Yes.
don't have to do a lot before making any major decision. Once you make your decision, then you get into action and you do. And you want to use your head then so that you're doing things in a really in the most productive way
Mhm.
possible. But before you take action, that's where you get into non-action and just receive the guidance through your intuition.
Thank you, Robin. That was really helpful. That's
Mm.
beautiful. Now, tell me, I'm curious, how did you go from the Italian translation into
Mhm.
sales? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so that came at a time where I was becoming more and more passionate about health and nutrition.
Mm.
And that idea was percolating that I think I would like to do more with health and nutrition, which I'll tell you how I guess they do connect, the dots do connect. So I was interested in health and nutrition. And then, as it often happens, when you have a challenge in life, that actually becomes your greatest gift.
Mhm. Yes.
So I went through a period of great challenge where I had some health challenges.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's really hard.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah, so the health challenges were really precipitated by stress, by emotional stress, financial stress. I had a newborn baby. It was the economic downturn around 2008.
So yeah, really hard time. Mhm.
Really hard time. And so as I recovered my own health, I learned a lot about health and nutrition, and I really started putting all of that together and restoring my own health. And then I said, I really want to help other people do this too.
Mm.
So I eventually got my health coaching certification, started my own health coaching practice, started supporting women in recovering their health from burnout.
Wonderful.
And I did that for several years. And then I learned of an opportunity to become a sales rep at a high quality nutritional supplement company. So it's a
Mm.
manufacturer of high quality nutritional supplements that are used by healthcare practitioners,
Mhm.
holistic healthcare
Yeah.
practitioners in their practices with their patients. And
Something you know you can trust.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a
That's
big
really
deal.
going to create the beneficial health outcomes that
Mhm.
patients are looking for.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to sales. Where at first, when I first heard of that opportunity, I said, I'm no salesperson. I can't do that. And the person who let me know of this opportunity says, oh, but you can, because you can connect with people. You can help
Mhm.
them find solutions.
Yes.
And when she put it in that perspective and that context, it just helped me to embrace sales in a whole new way.
Mhm.
And
Because you weren't trying to sell them something, you were trying to help them
yes,
bring this product that you knew could be trustworthy, that could give them what they were looking for. Yeah.
exactly. And it really was a triple win, because these high quality products that I already knew and loved, I knew would benefit the patients.
Mhm.
And it also benefited the healthcare practitioners in their practices, because it became a part of their clinical protocols, and the products were actually a part of their business and revenue as well. So it was a triple win for everyone. And I loved that.
That's wonderful. And do you still stand behind the products? You still feel
A
good about them? Okay.
hundred
100%.
percent.
Yeah.
100%. Yes. I'm no longer with the company, but I love the company, and the products are just the best in class. They're
Wonderful.
amazing.
And this is where you perfected your sales technique that you were writing about in your book, correct?
Exactly. Exactly.
Is there anything that you can tell us about that from what you learned? Because in the introduction, you talked about how you went from 220,000 to 2.8 million, which is fantastic. I try, if I was smart, I would tell you what that percentage was, but it's not my strong suit, that, but it's impressive. I can tell you
Thank you. Thank
that.
you. Yes. Yes.
How'd you do that?
Essentially,
Is there anything we can learn from you here?
yeah, absolutely. As I got into the work, and really I had almost, I would say, the benefit of not having any formal sales training aside from some business building courses that I had taken in my health coaching practice. But I really was able to approach it from a place of service. So first and foremost, it was about connecting with each individual healthcare practitioner
Mhm.
and understanding their true needs and wants. And that's where I really can connect that experience back to my work as an Italian interpreter and translator, because it's really about understanding the words behind the words
Ooh, right. That's powerful right there. Mhm.
and understanding what someone is really wanting to convey.
Mhm.
So hearing what they're saying, not just through their words, but then also their body language, tone of voice. And when you can connect with a customer and really understand what they need and want, and transcend your own fears about being pushy,
Mhm.
and only presenting your product or solution once you've truly understood what it is that they need, and then presenting it by speaking to the needs and wants that they have expressed to you, a sale happens naturally. It feels organic.
Mhm.
It feels good.
Feels good.
Yes. And so that's what I did. And it really was customer by customer. None of that happens overnight. It's about a
Yes.
process, right?
Mhm. Mhm. The right process. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that's wonderful. And
Hmm.
and what brought you to the point where you decided to write a book?
Yeah, into my fifth year in that position, I really started to put my ideas together. And truly, the seed, what started it, was just this feeling again in my heart, being guided by my heart, that it's time to write a book.
Mhm.
It's time to share what you've learned so that others can benefit as well.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's how it started. It's been a year and a half long process. And I have just enjoyed it so much. And it's been really exciting to see that it's, in my experience, and I think for everyone writing a book, it's going to be a little bit different. But for me, it's been almost a layering, or almost like Russian dolls, where
Mhm.
you start with that little core message. And I sent it out to several beta readers, and
Mhm.
they said, okay, this is good, but I want more of you, more of your stories.
Mm.
And so then I'd add another layer of the
Yeah.
Russian doll,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I went through several rounds of that. And so I also learned that it's really about having the courage to own your story and own everything that you want to share.
That's big too. It's not easy to have the courage to share your story and to put yourself out there. Did you have any, you've done a lot of things. You went to Rome, you went to San Francisco, you started your own practice in the wellness industry, and then you started your own practice in the sales industry,
Mhm.
and you wrote a
Yeah.
book. Did you ever question yourself? Did you ever fall back and struggle to get past your own self, if you will?
100%. Yes, I feel that's a challenge that's never really done. There are moments where you feel on top of the world because you've helped someone and you've transformed their life in some small way. And then there are other days where you really doubt. You doubt yourself. You have major imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this? Who am I to write a book? Who am I to say that I have anything figured out? But in those moments, I take my own medicine.
Okay.
I coach myself through the same process that I coach my clients and that I share in my book, which
Mhm.
is when you have those moments, first of all, just surrender, because when you have those moments of self-doubt, you are not in your heart. You are up in your head creating stories.
Yes, you are. 100%.
Yes. And I think we're all really good at that, at
Really
fabricating these
good.
stories. I can fabricate these crazy intricate stories about why I'm not good enough or smart enough, or just filling myself with self-doubt. And that is really all up in my head. And so my message is drop out of your head, drop into your heart. Surrender those thoughts, the thoughts of I'm not good enough, all of the self-doubt. Also surrender your emotional attachment to the outcome. So that means surrender that we're actually emotionally attached when we have those self-doubts, because there's a lot of prescriptive language about good enough. There's a lot of judgment, right? Not good enough. I
Yes.
am good enough. Better, not as good. So there's a lot of emotional attachment there, just like we can have an emotional attachment to a sale.
You're right.
Having an emotional attachment in the sale is the thing that's going to trip you up and prevent you from making the sale. So if you can release attachment and know you're going to be okay no matter what, then you can be more present with your
Mhm.
customer.
Yes. It's
And
very
by
good
the,
advice. I give this advice to my recruiters as well.
oh, good,
It's not about
good.
them. It's not
That's
about, yeah.
a
It's about
hundred percent,
the other person
a
always.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. It's about how can you show up for the other person and just be present for them. And so when you've got those moments of self-doubt and you're spinning in your head, just drop into your heart, get quiet, release emotional attachment, ask for guidance.
Mm, that's really,
Ask for guidance.
that's great. You're right. And it is anytime that negative it is a thought process that those negative feelings happen, it's because it's swirling in the head and you're
Mhm,
trapped in those stories that you're creating around yourself. So that's really
mhm,
good advice, to drop out of your head and into your heart.
mhm.
And the heart is where things feel good. Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So what do you feel, out of all the things that you've done, what do you feel has been your one or two of your greatest successes, and why?
One of my great achievements, and I think that this is more the external, is being recognized as a top performing sales rep,
Mhm.
and then being able to mentor others in the company, and then go on to become a sales coach and coach others who are in their journey and seeking success in sales. And that is a success that I'm very proud of. But really, it's what I've learned in that is just do the work, go through your process, trust the process, release some emotional attachment to the
Mhm.
outcome, just do it and just trust. I think another achievement that I am proud of is that crazy move to Rome that I made.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Recognizing that I guess I am a risk taker, and it can really pay off in spades to take risks. You never know until you try.
And Robin, I've only met you today, but I can only imagine the level of memories that were created in that 4 year span living in
Oh,
Rome. So
yes.
the richness
Yes.
has got to be off the charts.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. Making those, the following your passion, and you don't regret those moves. You don't regret it when you do that.
You
Hmm.
really don't.
Hmm.
You rarely do you regret something
Yeah.
like that. And worst case scenario, you get a ticket back home.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
literally or figuratively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what about
Yeah.
the flip side of that question? What about a time of a great challenge, a big mistake, yeah, and a
Mhm.
big obstacle that you had to deal with and he had to overcome, and how'd you deal with it?
Some mistakes that I've made in the past, nothing was too major. And yet, when I think back to it, there's an emotional sting there.
Mm.
And those mistakes happened when I was listening to someone else's well intentioned advice.
That just
And
gave me tingles right there because
Mhm.
that's so true. Right? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. So when you listen, and again, it could be well intentioned, but it's advice that does not resonate with you it doesn't feel good in your heart, but you go with it because you think it's what you should do. So those are some, because of that, I did make some mistakes in my past, not irreparable, but and you learn from it. So those are some things that I would say. And then in terms of obstacles, that period of health challenge that
Mhm.
I mentioned, that was a difficult time. It was a difficult time. And again, that's when I had my daughter was just a newborn and toddler, and I was tired, you
Yeah.
know. I was
Yes, you
tired.
are. And if you have
Yes,
health issues on top of that, you can,
yes,
yes.
exactly. And so that was a really hard time. And when I look back on it, I realized I wasn't listening to my body and my need for rest. I wasn't listening to my heart to do what I really wanted to do. I wasn't listening to my intuition. So those are some lessons to just that I always keep coming back to is
Yeah.
just follow your heart, follow your
Yeah.
intuition. But those challenges were a huge gift because of everything that I learned. And it really gave me that passion to dig deep into
Mhm.
health and nutrition, and to become very knowledgeable very quickly
Mhm.
about the use of supplements, about the nutrition, different dietary theories. And so it was a crash course in all of that. And if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't have had the passion and knowledge to go on and become a sales rep representing a product line of 300 different products. That would have been really hard to understand what each of those products did,
Mhm.
if it hadn't been for the fact that I was a supplement junkie, trying all kinds of different supplements on my own and with my clients in health coaching. And so it's so amazing how those challenges just become your greatest gifts later
Mhm.
on.
Agree. It is
Mhm.
amazing, isn't it? And but it is a matter of perspective and
Mhm.
learning from it.
Mhm.
But so this is a study of success in living a successful life. But I'm curious, everyone's different definition of that. So what is your definition of success? And then based on that, what do you think is key to having continued success throughout?
There can be so many different definitions of success, but I think it's whatever you determine is your goal and setting out and achieving it. But you have to be sure that those goals align with your desires.
Yours? Mhm. Yeah.
So if what you really desire is, for example, more freedom and flexibility in your schedule and your life and prosperity, if you set a goal for success that doesn't give you that freedom and flexibility, then I don't know if that is a success, even if
Mhm.
someone else may use that as their barometer of
Yes.
success.
Yeah.
So it's really up to you to, I think success,
So
bottom line,
what's
is
your
achieve.
personal? What's
Yes.
yours?
So my personal definition of success is, can I have a positive impact on other people?
Mm, that's a good
You
one.
know, in
Yeah.
whatever small way, can I have a positive impact on someone else? And can I help them shine their light? Each of us has a light to shine. And I see that with my coaching clients, that they're almost afraid to shine their light, or they might dismiss it.
Yeah. Yes. I think a lot of times people are taught
Mhm.
to dismiss it. or
Mhm.
not shine it. And we all need to be given permission. We
Mhm.
all need to be acknowledged that you are a bright, shiny light, and you need to have
Yes.
permission to go ahead and shine that light everywhere. And by doing so, it gives everyone else permission to shine their light. So
Mhm.
thank you for being someone that is helping people shine their light. I think that's an incredibly valuable, important thing to be doing with your life. So,
Thank you so much. I love how you just put that. That was really beautiful. It really is about giving permission to others to shine their light. I think we all need a little nudge. We all need a little bit of permission to shine our light.
yes. I completely agree. And based on everything that we're talking about, I mean, I know you've learned a lot in your life. What's something that you've learned? Because we talked about a lot, some really great things. What do you feel has given you the most benefit in your life?
Really knowing from an early age that I had to follow my heart and
Yes.
to follow that guidance. And going back to the earlier question about how do you achieve success, that's the key right there, is to follow your heart.
Mhm.
And you will receive guidance that you didn't know you had until you were able to listen.
Yeah. Yes, no, that's very big. And you've actually made changes in your 40s too. And I know that part of the inspiration for this was a lot of times changes after the age of 40.
Mhm.
There's a lot more struggle and difficulty, and there's a lot of fear. And I love talking to people who have made these changes and have thrived with them.
Mhm.
Is there any advice that you would give someone who might be in that position, that are struggling to find the right path, the right next opportunity, and figuring themselves out?
Yes. First of all, I have loved my 40s more than any other decade of my life.
Love it. That's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes. I'm 48 now, and I just absolutely have really, truly loved my 40s. And I think it's really a time where you come into your own and you own your story, like I said, quite literally if you're writing a book, or just or if you're changing careers or just making major life decisions. This is a time where you're really empowered, especially as a woman, to make those changes and to really own it and to enjoy your 40s. And of course, in your 40s, there can be some major transitions and changes. And again, before making the leap, get still and get quiet.
Mhm.
That's the most important piece. And if you're going through what I might call the dark night of the soul, we all go through it. We've maybe a couple different cycles through our lives, right?
Mhm.
If you're going through that time, don't rush it. It can feel really uncomfortable and you just want to end it and stop it and get out of it. But just be with it. Feel the feelings. You have to feel the feelings, allow them to come through you so that you can move on
Yeah.
when the time is right.
The only way out is through. That has always stuck with
Yes.
me, because it's true. You have
Yes.
to go through it to get out. Otherwise, you're
Yes.
gonna get stuck. You're gonna
Yes.
you're not gonna
Yes.
get out until,
The lesson won't let go of you until you really learn the lesson.
yeah. I've seen that. I
Mhm.
agree completely.
Mhm.
And making these changes in your 40s, I'm curious, have you ever experienced ageism yourself? And if so, how did you deal with it?
So I'm really fortunate to say I haven't, as far as I know, been the subject of ageism or been subjected to ageism. But what I will say is that I think the worst ageism that I've experienced is in my own,
Oh, that's
where this is where the comparing voice comes in. Of I'm not as young as they are. You get all the self doubts as a woman of how old you look, how do people perceive you? And that's the worst kind of ageism because it comes from within and that can be so destructive.
I agree.
And what I would say is that you teach others how you want to be treated. So if you can be proud of who you are, own your story, own your accomplishments, know that you're not a 20 something who doesn't have much experience under her belt. You're much further along. You have so much to share, so much wisdom that you've gained, and really own that. You will convey that message and that confidence to the people that you're working with.
Yes. Yes. I love
On,
that.
on the contrary, if you are dimming your light and in a state of contraction, not wanting to take on opportunities because of self-doubt or because you are comparing yourself to younger colleagues, guess what? That may be what you get because
Yes.
you're teaching other people that's how you show up.
What a great answer. Thank you for that.
Mm,
That's really good.
thank
I'm
you.
curious, besides the book that you've written, is there another book that you've read or a talk you've listened to, or maybe a movie you've watched that had a really big impact on your life that you think could benefit other people?
Yes. So in my early 40s, I was going through a little bit of a dark night of the soul,
Mhm.
a lot of self-doubt, huge time of transition. And I really needed some guidance at that time. And I came upon a book called The Anatomy of a Calling by
Oh,
Dr. Lissa Rankin. So she's a medical doctor who has really become an incredible voice in the world of spirituality.
mm,
And the title, The Anatomy of a Calling, anatomy alluding to her medical background training.
mhm.
And then she experienced many changes and she shares those changes and that journey that she went through in the book. And she draws parallels between that and the hero's journey, the classic hero's journey. And one of the lessons that I learned from the book is that exact message of don't try to rush through the dark times, feel it, feel your feelings, and to be okay with the space between stories.
Oh, yes.
That is huge. And
Mhm.
that has stuck with me for years. If you are in the space between stories, which means one chapter has ended and the next hasn't yet begun, that
Mhm.
can be very uncomfortable and
Yes,
scary.
it is. It is.
Yes. And, that I found myself at that point. And again, that was before I got into sales. I
Mhm.
was done with my Italian translating career. I was in health coaching, but wasn't quite feeling right. I hadn't yet found the position in sales. And so it was that dark night of the soul for me that was a little bit, it was scary. I was also newly divorced and
That's
it was a lot. And I'm very fortunate to say that I have a very amicable relationship with my ex-husband, and he's a wonderful person. But regardless, it was just difficult. It was a very difficult time of transition. So this book, The Anatomy of a Calling, really helped me
okay.
to sit in that space between stories, to feel the feelings, to be okay with the discomfort, and to know that none of it is permanent. None of it is permanent.
Yes. Thank you. What I'm going to read that book. I've not heard of it. And
Mm,
I don't think I'll ever forget that, the space between
mhm,
stories, because that is exactly that stuck space
mhm,
is
mhm.
well, there's being stuck. And then there's that the ending of one chapter and you
Yes.
quite haven't started the next one.
Yes,
And
yes,
yeah.
exactly. And we can really shy away from uncertainty. Like when we're in that space between stories, everything feels uncertain. And so we want to rush to certainty. We want to rush to the
I
knowing.
do.
So, a way to embrace that, along with just being in the space between stories, but embrace that what you don't know yet could be absolutely incredible.
Yes.
Your next chapter can be absolutely jaw-dropping amazing.
Yes. It could be
And
the
so,
best thing.
yes,
Mhm.
and so just be in that positive state of expectation.
I love it. Yes. That
Yes,
thank you.
yes,
I love
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
So, Robin, for people who want to learn more about you, I will have links in the show notes, but please tell us, right now, how they could find more information about you and information about your book.
Yeah, absolutely. People can go to my website, which is robintreasure.com, and you can learn more, a little bit more about me there. And then also find a link to my book, which is also available on Amazon. Again, that title is Heart Powered Sales. Grow Your Sales Exponentially with Emotional Intelligence and Intuition. And the book is really the heart powered sales method that I created in the course of my sales career that really teaches you to use your intuition to find business opportunities, to know what is your next best step, and to connect to your customers with emotional intelligence, how to help them feel heard and understood, how to release that emotional attachment that can be such a stickler in sales, and then how to put together an action plan where you do have a solid business plan
Right.
to know how to approach your day-to-day work in sales and how to be in action, but taking really strategic action
Mhm.
so that you are getting the best ROI for your.
Very valuable. Very valuable. Yes. And are you taking on additional clients for sales coaching if people are interested as well?
Yes,
You
I
are? Okay,
am.
great.
Yeah, so they can find out more information about that on my website, robintreasure.com. I am taking on individual coaching clients, and then also I run group programs periodically.
Great. This has been wonderful, Robin. It's been such a great talk. Before we sign off, I want to ask you my last question.
Yes.
What are you sure of in life?
What I am sure of is that we are all being guided. We are all being guided by an energy that connects us all.
Mm,
And I like to refer to this energy as loving consciousness.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Loving consciousness wants us to succeed and wants us to be happy and wants us to have prosperity and connection and a sense of fulfillment. And we're getting those signs every little day, those every day, those little nudges. The guidance shows up in something that you hear in a podcast or something that you read or a message within your own heart. That guidance shows up.
Yes.
And that is what our intuition does, is our intuition connects us to that guidance.
Mm, so beautiful. I loved that answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate your time, Robin.
Thank you, Jolie. It's been really a pleasure talking with you. I really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.
I loved talking with Robin. There were so many great lessons she shared throughout her story. I absolutely love that Robin followed her passion early in life, getting her degree in something that she was excited and interested in, regardless of the stories others might have told her. And I know you know the comments coming her way. The maybe you should go in a more reasonable direction. Or how are you going to make a good living with that degree? And really, I'll stop there because the right questions can be found in those comments. The words the good living, the reasonable direction. By whose standards is something deemed a good living or a reasonable direction? Who is to say what a good living is but yourself? And the only reasonable direction you need to be concerned with is the direction that is right for you, whatever that may be. Robin listened to her own inner voice and she followed her dreams. When she graduated, she moved to Rome, exactly where she wanted to be, even though she had very little money and no job. This was what she wanted, and she made it work. And she was rewarded with an incredible life experience that she carries with her to this day. After spending 4 years living in Rome, Robin felt ready for a change, and once again she followed her heart. She did not want to go back to Boston or to New Mexico where she'd built previous lives. She was drawn to the San Francisco Bay Area, and once again she made a major move without having a job. Once again, she listened to her intuition and she found the perfect role for her at that time, working for the Italian Cultural Institute. Through these experiences, Robin learned the value of taking risks. She learned to follow her heart and listen to her intuition. She learned that if you have a passion and you know you can give it your all, it does not matter if you have a perfect game plan or if it makes complete sense to others. It only needs to make sense to you. Well meaning people will always try to talk you out of things that they do not understand. But these are not the voices that you need to be concerned with. The only voice that you need to get in touch with is yours. I'm curious, are there any risks you did not take in your past that you wish you did? Was there ever a path your heart told you to follow, but you did not listen? What is stopping you from taking that risk now? Is it possible to follow your heart in some small way? Studies show that people who are at the end of their lives, they do not regret the things that they did. They regret the things that they did not do. What can you do for yourself today that your future self will thank you for? Robin had excellent advice around learning how to tap into our intuition. And getting in touch with your intuition is an incredible gift that you can give yourself. Look, most of us have never been taught about intuition, let alone trained in how to get in touch and listen to it. This is something that you can learn and develop easily yourself. It is a practice like anything else. And Robin gave great step by step insight. So before making a big change, before a big leap or a big decision, take a moment and check in with your inner self. As Robin shared, your intuition is not thinking, it is not logic, it is receiving. It is about getting quiet, becoming still, being in that moment with yourself, dropping out of the chaos of your thoughts in your head and dropping in to your heart center. Your heart is where you get to the truth and you receive the guidance. So, your practice is to close your eyes, to visualize your soul essence collecting in your mind. Visualize this essence, this light, dropping down from your head into your heart. And from this place, you ask yourself the questions to which you need the truth. And that truth, it will come as a relief. The hardest part is making the decision. But when you make that decision by getting in touch with your inner knowing, everything becomes easier moving forward. You can then make the decisions needed to move forward in a productive way. Robin shared that she went through a time of life that held a great deal of stress, including dealing with difficult health challenges. This was a worrying, hard time for Robin, but she learned, as many of us do, that often our greatest challenges lead to our greatest gifts. When Robin struggled with her health issues, she devoted herself to learning about nutrition to help her own personal recovery. When what she learned helped her heal, she wanted to share and support others who were dealing with something similar. This led to her getting her health coaching certification, which in turn led to her finding and accepting her first sales role. I loved what Robin learned about sales during this time. Robin found that she excelled in a sales role when she realized it was about connecting with each person individually and understanding their individual wants and needs. When she realized successful sales was simply taking the time to understand people and then help them, everything changed. When you connect with people on their level with the intention of helping them find the right solution for them, you are no longer a salesperson. You are an ally on their journey. You are a guide on their path. This is true for all aspects and relationships in life. When you surrender your personal attachment to an outcome and can instead focus on what is best for the person standing in front of you, you will find success. With Robin's new view of sales, she quickly went on to excel and succeed in her sales techniques. Once again, she wanted to help others do the same. Robin became a sales coach and ended up publishing her first book, Heart Powered Sales. Another story proving that when you set out to help others, you in turn end up helping yourself. Robin also learned an important lesson going through those difficult years. You cannot rush the dark times. We all go through a personal dark night of the soul in life, and it is undoubtedly uncomfortable and something that you want out of. But really, you cannot rush these feelings. You cannot outrun them or ignore them until they go away. They will always be there until you deal with them. The only way out is through. You must feel all the feelings so they can move through you, and then you can move on. And if you don't, you will get stuck. As Robin said, the lesson will not let go of you until you learn the lesson. So let's be okay with that space in between our stories. When one chapter ends and the other has yet to begin, yes, it can be incredibly scary place. But if you find yourself in this space, I want you to remember Robin's advice and remind yourself that what you don't know yet can be absolutely incredible. Your next chapter could be jaw dropping amazing. And don't you owe it to yourself to embrace that positive space of expectation? What is the absolute best case scenario for you in 3 years' time? Focus in on that picture and hold it in your heart to be true. I also loved Robin's personal definition of success: to have a positive impact on other people's lives and help them shine their light. So many of us have been dimmed by other people's stories, by society's stories, by the stories we have picked up and carried along with us. We need to be reminded of the truth. And the truth is that you are ready, that you are worthy, that you are deserving, and that you are enough. You are a bright light, a wondrous miracle here for the very purpose of shining your unique beauty on the world. We all need a little nudge from time to time, as life can so often weigh us down. We do accept these stories that don't belong to us, and they do become like an anchor on the soul, dimming our light day by day. And if you are dimming your light, you are in a state of contraction and therefore not taking on or even noticing the opportunities around you because of that self doubt, because of that comparison to others. When you dim your light, you dim your life. So, this is your reminder that you are whole and complete. You are alive in this moment, and absolutely, you are a powerful being of possibility. Moving forward, refuse to dim your light in fear of others' perception. Own your own personal greatness. Recognize and embrace your uniqueness proudly. And by doing so, you will illuminate the darkness that others may find themselves sitting in. You will give permission for others to do the same. So, that is my wish for us all, that you will no longer shrink to fit the small minds of the world, but will instead step into your greatness, shining your full wattage proudly and unapologetically, owning the beauty that is you. Until next time.